All right, thanks for joining us. This is the Overtime Sports Radio Show on FuegoBeats.com. This is Rick from Just Man Talk. I'm here with my partner in crime, Tipsy. What's up, Tipsy?
It was good. Good to be back.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you back on the big show. So, how things go last week? You got to watch any of the games?
I saw a little bit of the games, a little bit of the. Oh shoot, I can't even remember. I saw a few of the games, but I wasn't really paying attention. Basically, I saw the only game that was really any worth talking about or anything was definitely that game 2, that Heat Bulls game.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, my friend. I did some research. So some of these stats on this game, and we got to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about a lot about the playoffs tonight, but in particular, this game was. I mean, this was one for the record book, and I just want to go through some of these stats. Just so we could talk a little bit about the message that the Heat sent to the Bulls in this game. And maybe the message that the Bulls sent back to the Heat during this game as well. So, of course, everybody knows by now that the Heat won the game 115-78. It was 37-point differential.
At one point, even that close.
Right. At one point, they led by 46 points. So, like you said, it wasn't even that close. But, after losing game 1, the Heat, I guess, kind of woke up because I don't think it was, it wasn't like a reality check. I mean, they knew the Bulls were going to give them a fit. I mean, they're pretty physical anyway, but I mean, I don't think they thought they were, without Derrick Rose, and we'll talk about him in a little bit also, that they were going to be able to do what they did in the first game. So the Heat came out and they were definitely on a mission. Like I said, at one point they led by 46. Ray Allen had 21 points in 19 minutes. 62. They went on a 62-20 run. I mean,
62-20.
That's just ridiculous. Okay. Miami shot 60% from the field. The Bulls shot 36%. Miami out-rebounded them 41-28. It was just ridiculous. Now, the Bulls answered back by having 6 technicals, which was the most in any postseason game since 2005. So, I mean, you could see that the Heat were definitely putting a pounding on them, but the Bulls were taking it like Mando. What I will say is that although they got crushed, they stood up and they tried their best.
Yeah, I mean, they tried their best, but what all that game showed me was that the Heat are, the Heat are the team to beat. Like, what they did to the Bulls, who I've always said the Bulls were a good team this year. They played the whole season without Derrick Rose, but they overachieved a lot. And game 1 was definitely them overachieving at like the highest level. And game 2 was just the Heat showing that, look, we're the team to beat. We're the best team in the league. And there's nobody that's going to stop us. And they dominated the team that, did show up to the game, but they just didn't have what it takes defensively to really shut Miami down. And it was a good game. It was physical. It was dicey, but I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, yo. Like, there's not even a lot you can really say when it's a playoff game, and you should never be down by almost 50 points in any playoff game ever. Like, I don't care how you are, what team you are, what seed you are. You should never be down by almost 50. Like, that's unacceptable. But it also shows how dominant the Miami Heat are defensively.
Well, the Heat were at home, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
The Heat were at home, but I don't think home court had anything really to do with it. Even though there were a lot of fouls called, technicals and all that, they were pretty evenly called. So you can't, Bulls fans try to say that the refs were calling too many fouls, but the fouls were pretty even across the board, with the Bulls having 2 more technicals than the Heat had. But those 2 technicals were kind of, maybe subjective, but they didn't have all the fouls and all the technicals didn't have anything to do with the course of the game.
No, that's true. That's true. And they were the class of the outfit there. And I mean, without, your best player, the Bulls were going in, half cocked there, but making that statement in game 1. And again, I mean, we've seen it before. You've seen like the Redskins were undermanned last year, and what do? They run off 7 victories and win the NFC East, when if you were to just take the player rosters from everybody in the NFC East, they definitely would have been at least third on that list talent-wise, maybe fourth. I mean, they lost $18 million in salary cap space and were still able to put a competitive team out there. And sometimes it goes beyond just sheer talent. You got to have not only, the heart and desire, but you got to be present in the moment. And I think that's where the Miami, he got caught off guard that first game. They were kind of just going through the motions. They weren't present in the moment as it was. You know what I mean? And the Bulls were there. The Bulls were like, "Look, we're going to go down swinging. We're throwing up in trash cans in the dressing room. We're getting. Dude had a spinal tap. You know what I mean? They thought he had meningitis, for Christ. He had a spinal tap. They checked for meningitis. He's out there playing. I mean, he's ready to go. So I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of who wants it the most and who's willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I think, the Miami got a little slap in the face at home there. There were people, these prognosticators saying that, that he wouldn't even lose a game until they got to the finals, that they would sweep everyone. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can read your own headlines and, start believing in your own hype. And then somebody, slaps you in the face and you wake up and then you do what the Heat did. And that was they put the beat down. So
I think that game one loss had to do more with the fact that the Bulls played 7 games, so they still had, they still had a lot of momentum going. They were used to playing, and Miami had been sitting around for 9 days, not doing anything because they walked through Milwaukee, without even trying. And you can practice for a whole week, but if you haven't played no real basketball in a whole week, and the team comes in fresh off a game 7, still with that hype in them, I mean, things like that are going to happen. I think they didn't take it as seriously as they could have. But, at the same time, they could have did, the Bulls did what they needed to do, just come in with that energy and just go for it. And they went for it. But once Miami got that taste, it was all over them.
So I asked Josiah this last week, and I asked him, said, we could go through all the different matchups, but basically it's going to come down to the Heat and somebody. And if you had to look right now, you'd probably say maybe the Spurs would be the most likely person, most likely team for them to face. Can the Spurs give them 6? Can they take them to 6 games, 7 games? Can they make it a series?
I think the Spurs may be the only team that can take them to 7 games, if that, because of the fact that the Spurs slow the game down. They play good defense, and even though they got older players, they know how to slow fast teams down.
Right.
And that can be a problem. Now, the only problem I see with that, even though they might slow the game down for Miami, that they're not as physical. Miami's too physical, and they still don't have an answer for LeBron James.
But they do have some mismatches of themselves. They got some people that are hard to match up too.
They have mismatches because
Ginobili can shoot, and you got I want to say, what's his name? The one that's married to the Desperate Housewives girl.
They're divorced now. You're talking about Tony Parker.
Parker, there you go. That's the guy. Yeah, my boy Tony Parker. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Parker.
I'm just thinking about his wife.
They're divorced. That's his ex-wife now.
Ex-wife, yeah. Oh, I got a shot then.
Yeah, she's out there doing Doritos commercials.
I mean, he's a matchup night for anybody. I memean, he's fast, he's smart, he can pass him. He's a true point guard in every sense of the word, and so he can give him a little trouble. Even the Heat is, as loaded as they are, would have trouble matching up with him.
Now, if the Spurs do make it, because I think they're going to have some trouble with Golden State, because Golden State can just shoot the lights out. But if the Spurs do make it to the finals and they play the Heat, the X factor is going to be Tim Duncan, because he's a center, he plays down low, and even though he's older, there's no way Chris Bosh can't defend Tim Duncan. So he can't defend him. So if they slow the game down and they play a good low post game where they can kind of feed Tim Duncan and he can get a couple of, uncontested rebounds here and there and some putbacks, it could cause some problems because there's nobody in the middle that can really stop him.
Right. Exactly. Well, look, again, with the Heat Bulls, there's one man missing from the team. Of course, everybody knows that he's not going to be there. Derrick Rose, he's coming back from major knee surgery. And I'm going to get your take on the other side of this, Tipsy, and see what you think. Should he play? Should he not? Is he doing a disservice to the team? Does the team have a right to be upset with him? What are the players feeling? What's that locker room? What's going on in the locker room right now? We'll catch that on the other side. This is Rick and Tipsy, and you're listening to Overtime Sports Radio on FuegoBeats.com. Yeah. I was trying to struggle to get that. I had my notes here, and I lost a page. I was like, what the fuck's all these names I had written down to talk about, and I can't find any of them. There they are.
Whatchamacallit, I'm sitting here watching this Bulls Heat game. Nazi Muhammad for the Bulls just got ejected.
Oh.
Because they called a foul on LeBron James when he was bringing the ball down the court, which I don't know how they did that because their arms got locked up. And they called LeBron looked at the ref and was like, how you call a foul on me when basically Muhammad bear hugged him. But then as they called the foul, Muhammad got up off the ground and two-hand shoved LeBron James to the ground.
Oh, man. You can't do that.
And then there was about to be a ruckus. It was a little bit of ruckus on the court, and then they ejected him. And the Bulls are up by 7.
You can't push down the man. Everybody's going to want to watch.
I mean, he shoved him hard in the chest while his head was turned, looking at Ray Allen.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Like his head almost snapped back on the ground. Like he shoved him hard.
Unbelievable. Why the fuck won't this thing? I can't get this thing.
Okay, y'all must have went to a break.
Yeah.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Fuego Beats back, and I'm letting you know that if you're looking for the latest clothing and accessories, look no further than jsnlonline.com. JSNL has the latest t-shirts, they got sunglasses, watches, anything that you need. So make sure you guys check out jsnlonline.com today and use Fuego Beats Radio as your promo code to get 15% off. That's jsnlonline.com, Fuego Beats Radio as the promo code. And remember, stay connected.
Log in, FuegoBeats.com, YouTube, Mr. Fuego Beats.
All right, we're back on Overtime Sports Radio. This is Rick. I got my man Tipsy on the other line. We're going to talk a little Derrick Rose here. Tipsy, I need to get your take on this one, man. Derrick Rose, knee injury, he's out. And 2 months ago, the team doctors cleared him, said he could come back. He's been doing 5-on-5 drills, full court with the team. His team is a playoff team, so it's not like he's scrimmaging against a bunch of scrubs. And he's dominating them in these practices, and yet he still can't suit up for a game in the playoffs, so they got a chance to take down the Heat. And basically, at that point, it's anyone's game. What's your take on this? I mean, everybody's got their opinion about it. Should he play? Should he not play? What do you say?
I think there's a big difference between doctors saying you're okay to play based on how well you healed and you feeling like your body is at the point where it's ready to go. Drills and stuff in practice, yeah, they might go a little hard, but they're not going to touch him or test him the way he's going to get tested on the court. I don't blame him for not wanting to play because he's only, 23, 24 years old. He's going to have plenty of time to come back and play. Plus, they made the playoffs. They don't really need him to come back. I think it hurts them more than that because if he's not mentally going to be able to commit to the game 100%, he's too worried about getting the knee re-injured, he's going to be a liability. So if he knows that mentally he's not ready to come back to the game because he doesn't have that much confidence in his knee, and maybe it still hurts a little bit. I've had that kind of knee injury, and I still have pain in mine, and I'm still not ready, and it's been 2 years, and I'm still not ready to do a lot of things that I used to do before because of the pain that I still have in the knee, even though tests have shown that my knee is okay. Now I'm a few years a little bit older than him, but at the same time, I kind of understand why he doesn't want to play.
But let me ask this. Why don't he just come out and say, hey, look, guys, I mean, maybe he already has told the team, okay, hey, guys, I'm not going to be able to play this year. Got it. No matter how deep you go, I'm not going to be there. Well, why don't we just let the media know? Why don't we just put it out there and want the team say something? I mean, all right, let's say for a fact that he's told the team that he's not playing. Okay, he can't. He's not right. He's not coming back. Great. That takes the pressure off him. But the media keeps hounding him. So they got to keep answering this question after every game, after every practice, every media session, every venue they go to. They get asked the same question. Have you seen him in practice? How's he look? Is he going to play? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, at some point, you got to own up to it. And if it's the team telling them not to say anything just to keep building interest in the team and keep people watching and guessing and wondering and whatever, then that's just as bad. I mean, that kind of reverses my opinion on it, because that's kind of putting, an unnecessary pressure on him and the team. And that would be stupid to do that to your own team. But which is the reason I don't think that's the case. I believe that they've told him, hey, we'll clear you. The doctors will clear you to play, but it's up to you when you actually do play. You know your body. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Then it's on him to say, look, I am not going. I think he knows he's not going to play. And then his brother had a statement, why would he want to play for this team? Why would he want to, put it all out there for this team? In other words, they suck. They're not trying to get anybody around him to help make him a winning team. So why the hell should he come back? I mean, there's so many mixed messages going on about this, when really all he'd have to do is say, hey, look, I am not playing in this 2013 season. I'll see you in the 2013-2014 season, and I'll see you at training camp. Why don't he just say that and get the monkey off his back, shut the media up, forget all the speculation, and just, be the best cheerleader you can for your team and try to, will them through the playoffs, or as far along the playoffs as he can. Because at this point, he just looks like a big joke, if you ask me.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess I can see that. But I think Derrick Rose is, from what I've seen of him, he's really a quiet guy. He's just going to sit back. And he's already said that he's not going to play until he feels like he's 110%, which is stupid when people say that. Just say until, you're better. People have speculated that it's mental. I believe that it's mental, that you don't want to come back and not know that you can't give it your all on the court. And Derrick Rose, when he's on the court, is a competitor. He gives it his all, even though he's kind of a smaller guy. He gives it his all. He does what he does for his team. But right now, like I said, the team doesn't really need him. They're competing, except for, the other day. And they don't, I wouldn't want him to come back if I was a team, because you don't want to mess that rotation up. I mean, look at the Knicks and Amari Stoudemire. I mean, eventually they're going to bring him back, but they don't really need to bring him back because they play better without him.
Well, let me ask you this. Would Kobe Bryant not play through injury? Would Michael Jordan not play through injury? I mean,
yeah, but think about it.
At 23,
think about it, Kobe Bryant's team needs him. Like, they need him to be out there. We've seen what happens when they're not there, when he's not there. Michael Jordan's teams early on in his career, they needed him to be out there like that. I mean, they were a playoff team without Michael Jordan there, but they needed him, and people came to see that.
Did you watch game 2? The Bulls needed him out there.
Derrick Rose wouldn't have made a difference. Unless Derrick Rose was going to score 65 points, that game wasn't going to matter anyway.
But it could have changed the whole course of the game just having him in there. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't know. Anything could happen with him in there. It's like, I mean, RG3, he doesn't, run for 500 yards every game he's out there, but just his sheer presence being out there changes the defensive game plan. You know what I mean? Opens things up for other players. I mean, it's the same difference. I'm just saying, 5 minutes of him on the court is better than him not being on the court, okay? And even more so without the distraction of guessing whether he's going to be there. For me, that's the biggest issue. Whether he plays or not, yeah, he knows his body better. If he don't feel like, if it is a mental hurdle, okay, I've never had an injury like that. I wouldn't second guess a man who does have an injury like that and say that I know better than he knows. Okay, I'll get that. I'll give him that pass. And from all accounts that I've heard, he's always been a stand-up guy, always been very competitive, always been, a great locker room guy, great teammate, gives 100% every chance. Okay, great. But at the same time, you're doing your team a huge disservice by not just owning up to it as a man and saying, I will not be back for the rest of this season. I will not be back for the rest of this season. I'll see you next year. And just let it go. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, it could go either way. I mean, I don't know. I just get sick of the guessing, and if he's going to play, is he not going to play? And what it's possibly doing to his team. I just wish he'd move on.
Yeah, but I guess they can't really say that because then it gives, as long as the Bulls are in the playoffs, just the speculation of will he or won't he play. It keeps the fans interested. It keeps, the hype machine going for the Bulls. And, I think that's really what it's for. It's the extra attention, the will he, won't he fascination that brings a little more to the team and with the fans to stay hyped, wondering if he's going to play, what's going to happen with that. It brings more energy to the team, basically, when the fans are hyped, wondering what's going to happen.
I know. It just seems like a bit of letdown. But I'll tell you what, he's not the only one that could have been a nice breakout star in this playoffs. But there are 5 breakout stars that we're going to talk about in the 2013 NBA playoffs. Since they've been going on so far, we're going to talk about those 5, and maybe you've got a couple of your own, Tipsy, when we come back. And this is Overtime Sports Radio on FuegoBeats.com. Yo, this is Rick from JustManTalk.com, and you're listening to Overtime on FuegoBeats.com.
According to the Mayans, get a grip, you can't contain me.
Yeah, this is Rhubarb, and you are listening to Fuego Beats Radio, the #1 online radio station for emerging artists.
All right, thanks for coming back to Overtime Sports Radio. This is Rick. I'm here with Tipsy. What's up, Tips?
What's going on with you, Rick?
All right, when we left, we were going to talk about some of the 5 breakout stars of the 2013 NBA playoffs. Again, I haven't seen all of the games, but there are definitely some things. I'm looking here on Fox Sports on MSN. There's a nice little article here, and I just want to go through some of their selections, see what you think about it. First and foremost, Chandler Parsons from Houston Rockets. They weren't supposed to have a chance, to win against the Thunder. Basically, with All-Star guard James Harden, unless he played out of his mind. But as it turned out, Harden shot under 40% for the series, and yet Houston pushed Oklahoma to 6 games. Why? Because of Parsons, who had 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists in Game 4. He was a second-round pick in 2011. He had a strong second season in Houston, but picked up his game even more in the playoffs, averaging 18.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 3.5 assists per game. So definitely stepping up there in the playoffs, huh?
Yeah, he was stepping in the playoffs. I was able to catch him on one of the games. I think it was Game 6. I was able to catch him, and, he can shoot the 3. He's pretty tough inside when he has to come inside. So I would consider him a breakout star. I think he showed something, and I think going into next season, he may be one of the players to talk about.
Now the Heat, they're loaded with star players, of course, and everybody knows the Birdman. But in the playoffs, the Birdman, Chris Anderson, he's actually been stepping up even another notch. He's Chris Bosh's backup center, but he's averaged 10.5 points a game, 6.5 rebounds in just 14 minutes through games 1 through 3, and he went going 13 of 15 from the field. He's got great energy on defense, and so he's definitely been stepping up his game, backing up Chris Bosh here.
The Birdman, he to me is like. He's like the white Dennis Rodman.
Yes, sir.
Like, this guy he's got a lot of energy. He rebounds. He's tough. He can get under the skin of the defender of the other team. He does it all. He is a little older, and I wouldn't consider him a breakout star because he did kind of the same thing for Denver a few seasons back. And when they made their trip to the Western Conference Finals, I believe he was on that team, and he balled out then with the rebounds and the defense. So I don't know if I'll call him a breakout star, but definitely a comeback star in the playoffs because he does have that experience.
Yeah, and another comeback star, Paul George for the Pacers. He was an all-star in his third season, but he's still far from a household name. So, but definitely that could change if he helps the Pacers knock off the Knicks. And then, hey, it's possible. The Heat, maybe, maybe not. But the 23-year-old swingman, already too much for the Hawks to handle in the first round. George opened the postseason with a triple-double, 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 12 assists. And he's averaged almost 19 points and 8.5 rebounds a game so far in the playoffs. So what do you think about Mr. George?
I'd have to agree with that. I haven't watched him play that much because the Pacers aren't on TV a lot. So I only know about him what I see in highlights on ESPN. But, I mean, from what I see, he balls out. He goes for it. He knows that Granger is hurt, and he's making the most of his opportunities to show that he is just as much of a star, if not maybe a brighter star than Granger is.
Now, this next guy is my favorite because it's probably the only NBA player since Muggsy Bogues that I'm actually taller than. And of course, that's Nate Robinson for the Chicago Bulls.
Nasty Nate.
Of course, with Derrick Rose is out with a surgically repaired knee, Kurt Heinrich sidelined with a strained calf. With 5'8" Robinson is only playing heavy minutes for Chicago by default, but he's making the most of them. Nate the Great has already turned in 2 of the playoffs' best performances, 34 points in a triple overtime Game 4 win over the Nets, and 27 points in Game 1 upset of the Heat. He sparked the comebacks in both of the games pretty much, and his cocky attitude has set the tone for the banged-up but fearless Bulls. What do you think?
Nate Robinson is just like, he's a good player, and he could be a starter on a lot of teams. He's definitely got all the energy in the world. Like, this guy is athletic, and he's so small he can get under these taller guys and make his way to the basket. It's hard to defend him because of his height, and, when you're a foot shorter than almost everybody else on the court, you can kind of just go around them and go under them and make these exciting plays that keep the rest of the team and the fans energized.
That's exactly how I do it on the blacktops of Waldorf. That's exactly how I do it.
I'm pretty sure it's not how you do it, but as long as you believe that, we'll just go with that. So that is how you do it.
And I got a vicious right hook, huh? Oh. Not really. Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, my number one and their number one, Stephen Curry, Golden State Warriors. We already knew he loved the spotlight. March Madness legend in 2008. He dropped 55 on the Knicks at Madison Square Garden earlier this season. And, definitely he's averaging 27 points, 9.5 assists in his first crack in the playoffs. And he seems to be loving every minute of it, man. Definitely.
Steph Curry is just a baller. He's a baller. He could shoot the ball from anywhere on the court. He could probably, if he took 10 half-court shots, he could probably make 7 of them.
Wow.
This guy has no range. His range is unlimited. It's ridiculous how well he can shoot. But his dad, Dell Curry, could shoot the lights out. So it's definitely something that's genetic.
Yeah. He's got
his brother is in Duke, and he can shoot the lights out. So, it's genetic for him. He doesn't even have to think about it. Just catch and shoot. But he has ball handling skills too. And he can come inside when people think he gets too comfortable with the three-point line. So, he's got an all-around game, and he's definitely letting it show against, he let it show against Denver, and he's letting it show against San Antonio. And if San Antonio doesn't figure it out, the Golden State Warriors could be on their way to Western Conference Finals.
That would be sweet. I get the dynasties. I like that. When the Chicago Bulls were on their run, I was actually, probably more of an NBA fan than I probably have, been in a while. Just because I guess Jordan had that, the same effect on the NBA that, Tiger Woods has on golf now. He draws people to the screen. If he's in contention, you want to see him. He just lights up that screen, and it's something that you're watching something that you won't see from any other person on the planet when he's doing what he does and when he's at his best. So for me, that's just it goes without saying that to see a dynasty is something special. But every once in a while, man, I like to see the underdogs. I like to see people mix it up a little bit. You know what I mean? I like to see some different names. I mean, I know the NBA, they'd be happy if the Knicks and the Lakers were in every single year. We're in the playoffs in the championship game. That would be their dream matchup every year. But just for the TV markets and whatever the history and whatever, or even Boston or whatever. But I like seeing gold. I like seeing the underdogs, the different teams getting up there, man. For me, it makes it more exciting. I don't know. What do you think?
It definitely does make it more exciting. I like to see the lower seeds try to advance going into the playoffs. I hate the fact that, for whatever reason, a 1 seed is just always so dominant over an 8 seed or a 2 and a 7. Like I don't understand how it's that much disparity from one day to the next. Like, you can beat a team in the regular season 4 times, but then you can't beat them 4 times
right.
in the playoffs, even though you might have just played them 3 days prior before the start of the playoffs, and now all of a sudden you can't beat them. Like, I don't understand if it's just a full-on mental thing or whatever it is. Like, I don't understand that. In every other sport, an 8 seed can beat a 1 seed.
Yeah, that's why March Madness was so great this past year, because, I mean, that tournament was ridiculous. You didn't know who was going to win. I mean, you had 7 seeds, advancing deep in to the rounds there. So
look at hockey last year. The Los Angeles Kings were an 8 seed, and they won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, well, that's a little different, because a hot goalie can turn the worst hockey team on the planet into an unbeatable Stanley Cup winner. And all you need is your goalie to just, if that everything's kind of slow, like the Matrix, you know what I mean? Where, bullet speed, bullet time, whatever they call it, where everything kind of slows down like that. Some goalies, man, when they get into the playoffs, I don't know what it is, but they get that little Matrix vision, and everything kind of slows down. The puck gets big as a beach ball, and nothing gets through there. And but it's a little different when you're playing a team sport, you know what I mean? When you're dependent on, in basketball, everybody plays offense, everybody plays defense, everybody takes shots, everybody blocks shots, you know what I'm saying? Football is even more, it probably more difficult because it is such a bigger team sport. But in hockey, there's only one goal, there's only one net, and there's only one guy standing in front of it. And if that guy's hot, he can change everything. You know what I'm saying? It's just a different animal.
Yeah. That's true, but I just don't understand why it's not more common for 8s to beat 1s in basketball, because I think that, really the difference is, you might have a LeBron James or a Kobe Bryant on your team as a 1 seed, but, I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't.
But then now you're going to get me started now, because now you're going back to what I call the puss factor, because somebody like LeBron James, ganging up with all his buddies and deciding that where they're going to play and who they're going to play with, and creating a super stacked team. I don't know if that's a push factor though, because if you look at all the teams that won the NBA championship in the last 20 or 30 years, they've at least had 3 Hall of Fame players on their team. But did they put them together the way maybe it's the way he did it. Maybe the decision that show. I mean,
that was all for show. But think about it. The Lakers bought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or they traded for him. He wasn't drafted there.
Right.
They drafted Magic Johnson, and then they drafted James Worthy. Then they brought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because they needed that one piece. They brought in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's 3 Hall of Famers on the team. The Chicago Bulls drafted Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, but they brought in other players around them in order to fill that team out.
No,
they got 2 Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I never understood why people always are like, oh, well, he wanted to go there. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Cleveland. I mean, come on. Dwayne Wade wasn't leaving Miami. He's not leaving the sun and the beaches and the women of Miami.
Right.
Go to the lakes, the frozen lakes of Cleveland, Ohio, and
Come on, man.
Like,
There's
who's
a
going to
bustling
lead that?
downtown area down there. They got a bustling night scene going on there.
If I play for the Knicks or even the Nets and they're in Brooklyn and I'm around all the big bright lights of the city and all the stuff that New York City has to offer, I'm not going to sign a deal with Milwaukee. Like, that's just not, it's just not how it goes. Like, it wasn't hard for him to go to Miami, and maybe the decision soured people in his decision to go to Miami. But at the same time, if you look through history, all teams had at least 2 or 3 Hall of Famers on their team, whether they were drafted there or traded there. They all had at least 2 to 3 Hall of Famers on their team to win championships. There's not a team, except for maybe the Detroit Pistons in like 2004, that just had kind of a team of average players that they got to play together to win the championship.
Hate LeBron. I just wanted to make that known. I can't stand him. But anyway, you make a good point. I think for me, like you say, it was the decision. It was the whole, I'm more important than anything, and it's all about me, and that whole, I just can't stand when people do that. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll see. Like I said, he set himself up, because if he doesn't win, then he looks like a chump. So he better win the next 5 in a row. So that's all I can say. When we come back, we'll shift gears. We'll get out of the NBA a little bit. We'll talk Dan Snyder. Put his foot down today. We'll find out what he put his foot down about when we come back. And this is Overtime on FuegoBeats.com.
Hello. My name is Anthony Ramirez. I am owner-operator of Ramirez Internet Solutions. Here at Ramirez Internet Solutions, we specialize in creating WordPress websites, aiding companies with their content management, and helping create search engine optimization-friendly material for the web. We also specialize in graphic design, logo design, and print marketing, creating all your graphics and designs for your web and print advertising. So if you are a small business startup, or not happy with your current website, let Ramirez Internet Solutions take care of your website for you. Even if you have an existing website but don't have the time to manage it, let us manage it for you, so you'll be free to do what you need to do, and that's run your business. Contact Ramirez Internet Solutions today at 571-572-0415. Again, that's 571-572-0415. Or email us at aramirez@ramirezzsolutions.com, or visit us on the web at www.ramirezzsolutions.com. That's www.ramirezzsolutions.com. Look forward to hearing from you soon.
What's going on? This is Fuego Beats from Fuego Beats Radio, and I want to tell everyone to check out the greatest sci-fi radio station out, Super 564 on Blog Talk Radio. They have the best topics, including sci-fi films, comic books, video games, and they even have a featured artist segment for musicians weekly. So if you have an obsession with sci-fi films, music, or video games like me, then this is the station for you. Make sure you check them out on blogtalkradio.com/Super564. That's blogtalkradio.com/SUPAFI64. All right? And remember, stay connected.
Log in, FuegoBeats.com, YouTube, Mr. Fuego Beats.
All right, welcome back to Overtime Sports Radio. I'm here with Tipsy. What's up, Tipsy?
What's going on today, Rick?
We're hitting the home stretch here, buddy. And,
all right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk a little NFL. First of all, I know we're going to get into Dan Snyder and his comments and things, but Rondé Barber announced his retirement. I think Thursday would be the last day. Rondé Barber, 17 years in the NFL, 224 consecutive games. We're talking total 241 games, 28 sacks, 47 interceptions, 8 TDs, 1,000 tackles. Hall of Famer or no?
Yes. He's a Hall of Famer for a lot of reasons. One, he's definitely one of the best defensive backs and was one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. He does have a Super Bowl ring. He's got the stats. He has 200 pass deflections. Like,
ridiculous.
That's a lot of pass deflections.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And the biggest stat, though, is not the interceptions or the pass deflections. It's the 28 sacks and the 1,100 tackles. 1,172 tackles as a defensive back. I don't even think Deion Sanders has that many tackles. So, you know what I'm saying? So that alone shows that, yeah, he's a defensive back, and it's usually kind of a finesse position where they're kind of, you know, prima donnas or whatever like that. But this guy hits. That's what that means, that this guy hits. And if you
he's an old school guy, man. I mean, he come up with the Ronnie Lots and the, you know. I mean,
so did Deion, though. Deion was all flat.
Yeah, I mean, Deion was a corner, a little different. You know what I mean? More relied on his speed than anything, and he was a return man. So, I mean, but Ronnie Barber, I mean, but still, him and his brother, Tiki, I mean, both of them. I mean, both physical guys, never shied away from any of the physical punishment of the game. And for me, he did it the right way. I mean, you didn't hear a bunch of crap about this guy. He was always respectful. They had an interview with him on NFL Today, and they're asking him, what do you think about your career? What do you think? Are you a Hall of Famer? Blah. He says, you know what? That's not for me to decide. I went out and I played the game as hard as I could. I'm proud of what I put on film. And if other people deem me as a Hall of Famer, I'll be humbled by the experience and appreciate that the mention, especially with the kind of people they're mentioning, putting them in the same breath with, you know what I mean? So I mean, for me, it's a stand-up guy. He says the right things. He walks the walk. He talks the talk, and he did it the right way. Like I said, 17 years, man. I mean, you're living right if you could play that position in the NFL 17 years. I mean, Darrell Green did 20. But he didn't do it consecutive. 224 consecutive games. That is ridiculous, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is a lot of games, especially as physical as football is.
I'm a store manager and have called out more times than he's called out of work. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
I've definitely called out more times.
That's sick. But, I would agree with you. I think your assessment's right. He is a Hall of Famer. He's got the ring, like you said, and if you want to go by, what people are judging, Hall of Fame worthiness, today, you got to have longevity, you got to have the stats, but more importantly, you've got to have the ring. Unless your stats just absolutely just blow people away, a la Dan Marino or somebody like that.
And if I'm not mistaken, is he the only player in this 40-20 club?
I believe so, yes. I believe so.
If he's the only player, I mean, you got to be a Hall of Famer if you're the only player.
I mean, you could say that's a longevity, number of years, but, I mean, to his credit, I mean, nobody plays that long anymore. I mean, it's impossible. You know what I mean?
True, they don't. And not to mention, he's got the most consecutive starts by an NFL cornerback. He's a cornerback, too. That's what they have him listed as.
Right, yeah. He does
cornerback.
Both. Yeah.
He's got most consecutive starts by an NFL cornerback and most quarterback sacks by an NFL cornerback. So this guy has the stats. He's got records, NFL records, not just team records. He's got everything. Like, if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame, I don't know how, I don't know who makes the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, just shut the doors.
Basically, I mean, if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame, then nobody's making the Hall of Fame.
Well, I'll give you another person who should make the Hall of Fame. At least after RG3 makes his run, this guy's going in. You can mark my words. Daniel Snyder. I mean, I think right now the fans have done a 180 just on today. Anyone who was a Redskin fan who had mixed feelings about Dan Snyder has just done a complete 180 on him, because your boy stood up today and basically told everyone, kiss my ass, stuck a middle finger up to their face. Daniel Snyder, of course, the owner of the Washington Redskins, did an interview with USA Today, and here's his quotes. When asked whether he ever would consider changing the team name, of course, there's been a big controversy about the Redskins team name, the American Indians. There's a big groundswell. Well, it's been going. It runs in cycles. About every 4 years, there's a big groundswell of people that want to have the Redskins change their name because they feel it's defamatory to American Indians and blah blah blah. But there never seems to be enough to actually cause them to do it. Now, some college teams have actually changed their name because of the controversy, but they're either state funded universities. So of course the politicians are gonna but Dan Snyder is not going to change. His quote is, "We will never change the name of the team." As a lifelong Redskin fan, and I think that the Redskins fans understand the great tradition and what it's all about and what it means. So we feel pretty fortunate to be just working on next season. And when asked, would he consider changing it then if the football team loses an ongoing federal trademark lawsuit, he says, quote, "We'll never change the name. It's that simple. Never." You can use caps. So get him, Dan. That's what I say. That's what I'm talking about. Basically, he's telling them, this is my team. It's my name. And, when George Preston Marshall changed the name to the Redskins, there were, probably more Indians then than there are now, as far as this whole thing goes. I mean, we had an Indian playing for us, for Christ's sake. Jim Thorpe. I mean, Sling and Sammy Ball, whatever. I mean, it's just, there's no reason to change his name. There's not enough people. They say when who was it today? It was LeVar Arrington said, quite frankly, there aren't enough people here to make enough noise that are offended by it for it to affect change. So therefore, it will not affect change, and it will not be changed until there is.
There aren't enough Indians. I think there aren't enough Indians to be able to really cause a fuss. And if there are, the ones that they don't care, they own the casinos, they getting money, they don't care about that.
They're counting their tax-free dollars, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? People gambling away at these Indian casinos, they're getting paid. They don't really care. The only people that care is one small group of maybe like 7 Indians and a bunch of people behind them trying to force them to be like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. Don't you think this is bad? And trying to hype them up to think that they got a shot at this. And I mean, what's the point? If you change the Washington Redskins name, then you got to change the Cleveland Indians name. Then you got to change, you know what I'm saying, the Buccaneers names, because then people are going to say, oh, my grandparents were descendants of pirates, and now it's offensive to pirates. Like, and then you have to start changing all this stuff, and it's just not going to make sense. It's just pointless to do it. It's been that for that long. The name hasn't changed in this long. What are you going to do? And then what are you going to do if you do change it? What are you going to call yourselves next? Like, it just seems like people are just needing something to do, and they're just trying to figure out some way to get under people's skin. And it's just a real point thing. It's comical, then you have to change the Yankees. Then you have to change the Cleveland Browns because some black people might get upset, or you got.
Hey, I'm offended by the White Sox. Why do they got to be White Sox? Why can't they be Black Sox? You know what I mean?
And you know what I'm saying? So then, and they used to be the Black Sox,
right?
So then they changed it to White Sox because they felt that might be offensive when black people started.
No, because baseball. The Black Sox actually cheated and they actually through the 2002 World Series, 1902 World Series. And so they had to change
all that stuff. So you gotta, you gotta do all these things. Then you gotta change all team names with animals, because then Pete say it's offensive to use animals as mascots because they're not mascots. You know what I'm saying? So it just becomes a whole lot of nonsense over the name of a team. It's not like Daniel Snyder is coming out to every game dressed and painted up like an Indian.
You know, it's going to get to the point where all you could do is name your team after the letter A or the letter B, and then you'll have Big Bird out there. The letter A it's offensive to use the letter A. What about letter C? I mean, Jesus Christ. And, and the thing that kills me is it's the politicians that are dragging this up. You know who it is? It's the politicians who can't get elected because they're not popular. No one knows who the hell they are. So they attach their name to a thing like this, and they get their name in the paper. They get on the talk shows. They get on the sports radio stations, and they start. And then, now our next guest is Congressman. Never heard of him, and he's attached to this whole thing. And that's why he's in there to get to play. He doesn't really care. You really think these guys care? They're whiter than I am. They could care less if you're using the name Redskin. They don't even know who the Redskins are until they try to find a controversial subject to attach their name to so they can get on all the talk shows, get their name out there, and hopefully get reelected so they don't have to get a real job. That's who the ones that piss me off They're the ones who are hyping this whole thing up. I mean, this lady, Amanda Blackhorse, who's named in the thing, she's probably, like you said, knee deep in a pile of chips sitting at a blackjack table right now. It could care less. But the guy probably told her, hey, look, we get you on here. We might win the case. You could probably get another couple million and maybe build another casino next door.
Basically, all those politicians that's doing this for whatever agenda they have, whatever purpose they're trying to serve, they all just need to take a page from the ex-politician Bud Dwyer and just off themselves, yo.
And from what I understand, before they named them the Redskins, they actually sat down with leaders of the Navajo Nation, the Sioux Nation, whoever they were at the time, the leaders, and sat down and said, hey, look, we're using this name here. Do you have any objection to it? Whatever. No, we don't consider ourselves Redskins anyway. We don't even know we're not even worried about that. That's whatever. That don't affect us one bit. Pass the casino keys over here, please. Thank you. And have a good day, sir. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what happened.
I'm trying to gamble. I don't care about the name.
Exactly.
Just need them chips. You go back to that 2-story teepee and get it in.
Here's a ticket to the buffet. Have a nice day, pale face.
I wonder if they serve at the Indian casino buffet like maize and like apples and stuff and like a cornucopia.
Oh, you get your oba-faced turkey sandwich and red beans and rice. No.
Basically, what do Indians eat besides like maize? Like it's all whatever they had with the Pilgrims. Like I don't think they eat anything different. You never see a restaurant that serves, Native American food. I don't think they have any.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about, though, because I mean, even the traditional, our turkey and ham and all the stuff that we're eating for Thanksgiving is our traditional meals here in America. They had nothing like that on the Pilgrims table back in the day when they had.
They did have a turkey on the painting that I saw.
Yeah,
I don't see anything the Indians. I don't see anything the Indians brought except corn.
But it was a wild turkey. It wasn't like the turkey we eat today. This thing was like all dark meat, gamey as hell, and
that's
nothing.
Evolution.
Yeah, right.
That's evolution. To what we have today. You know what I'm saying? They were giant birds back then too. So
giant birds, really? Back what are you talking?
They were giant birds. I just learned this the other day that there was a bird called, not in America, but like, in the world, there was a giant bird around the 1700s called an elephant bird that was like an ostrich except like thicker and bigger, and they found a skeleton. I just happened to be looking online and I found this out. So, a lot of things
if you found it online, it must be true.
Well, the skeleton was definitely true because that shit was on exhibit. So the skeleton was true.
I want to go see this big elephant bird. Where's this at?
And I had to look at that. Just type it in the search engine, elephant bird.
Elephant bird. That's hilarious.
It was hilarious to me because I'd never heard of it before.
I gotta see the elephant bird. Now I've heard of the dodo bird. Yeah, it was extinct, but I didn't know there was a elephant bird.
It's a giant. It doesn't look anything like an elephant. It's just a giant bird. Apparently, there were a lot of giant birds in the 16 and 1700s.
And apparently, they must have ate them all. The Neanderthals probably ate them all.
Yeah, an elephant bird, a family of large, enormous, flightless birds that once lived in Madagascar. In the 17th and 18th centuries, they became extinct.
Madagascar, that was a movie. I didn't see no elephant birds on the movie.
It also wasn't based in the 17th century, that movie.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I'm going to do some more research on this elephant bird. We'll have to pick that up next week. But it was great having you back for the show, man.
Yes, good to be back.
Absolutely. Glad we got the technical difficulty straightened out. Of course, that's Tipsy. I'm Rick. Tipsy, where can we find you at, buddy? We want to check in with you this week.
Oh, check me out on my Facebook page at Tipsy McStagger. Hit me up on Twitter at King5950 and Google Plus at WCar1979. I'm always there. I'm on all the time. I am a multimedia mogul. You can
Especially with his stylus. He's got the stylus heated up, man. I see smoke coming from that joint.
Exactly. Don't even let me start on the stylus. I'm about to start using it. I got to start using it because I forget it's there, so it's coming.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm Rick. Of course, you can find me on justmantalk.com, at justmantalk on Twitter. Definitely check out our sponsors. You want to check out Super564 if you're into comics, video games, music, anything sci-fi related. Check the boys out there. Of course, Jason L online for the fresh clothes. They got the nice gear. They got the watches, the sunglasses, all that stuff. Of course, this is Fuego Beats Radio. You can check us out here on the Overtime Sports Radio Show every week. I'm Rick. That's Tipsy. We'll see you guys next week. All right, man. I'm out.
It is.